At the same time, the Hebrew people entered Israel under the leadership of Joshua during the period 1200 to 1250 BCE. The Philistines established their presence in 5 central cities in Philistia. They were Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gaza, Ekron, known as Tel Mikna, and Gat, known as Tel Tzafit. I will just point out, without going into details, that although they lived in 5 central cities, this does not mean that the 5 cities existed at the same time. Who are the Philistines? They arrived to this region at the same time that Israelites crossed the desert from Egypt to Israel. They are part of a group of nations called the Sea People. They arrived from the region of Crete, Greece, an area that was known for the export of mercenaries. And this may also be the reason that the walking route of the Hebrew people in the desert during the exodus from Egypt to Canaan was on the east side and not the shorter route through the Mediterranean Sea coast. Meaning that they might took the east side in order to avoid fighting the Philistines, since they were good warriors with advanced weapons. I refer to swords made of iron, as can be deducted from what is written in the book of Samuel. The period 1250 to 1000 BC is considered in the Bible as the settlement period and the period of the judges. There is a constant friction between the Philistines and the residents of Judea, and our current location is very close to the ancient separation area between the Philistines and the Jewish settlements. In terms of our location, we are a few hundred meters west of Khirbet Qeiyafa. In front of us, and you can see it, actually the last hill, this is Tel Azekah, which is described in the Bible as one of the border cities of the kingdom of Judea. So we are just in front of the gate of Khirbet Qeiyafa. And before we knock on the gate's door, a brief introduction on 2 topics. The first is King David period. It is customary to date it to the years 970 till 1010 BCE. The first important and currently the only non-biblical archaeological finding that mentioned the name House of David was discovered in Tel Dan on July 21, 1993, and is known as the Tel Dan inscription. The second topic, dating historical sites according to carbon-14 measurement, like the other carbons, is assimilated by plants from the atmosphere through photosynthesis, and from the plants it passes to animals since they eat plants. This means that almost every organic substance has carbon-14. Its uniqueness compared to the other isotopes of carbon, specifically carbon-12 and carbon-13, that while they are stable, carbon-14 decays over time. And the fact is that the decay rate is constant. That is, half of the substance is lost every 5,730 years. So, getting to the punchline, this means that by comparing the ratio between carbon-14 and carbon-12 in the atmosphere compared to the ratio between carbon-14 and carbon-12 in organic matter, the age of the sample can be deducted. The dating of this site was determined by 14 olive pits, of which it was determined that 10 belong with great accuracy to the period between 980 and 1020 BCE, to the time of King David. See the massive wall that surrounds the city. Its height is 2 to 4 meters. It is 700 meters long. It delimits an area of 23 dunams, approximately 6 acres, which is a medium-sized city in biblical times. As a point of reference, the city of David in Jerusalem is 46 dunams, approximately 12 acres. Now, the gate threshold was built from a single stone. It's about 3 meters wide, 1 meter in depth, and it weighs 8 tons. A step was cut in the threshold that stops the gate door when closing it in a straight line to allow the bolt to be closed. See also the drainage canals on both sides. Now, drainage canals are known in the city gates during the kingdoms of Judea and Israel, and the same here. At the entrance to the city itself, on both sides of the gate, there are a total of 4 cells. This is the name used by the prophet Ezekiel. The cells were used by the guards for rest and storage. Horbat Kayafa is on one of the hills that closes the Elah Valley to the north. Around us are Tel Azeka, just in front of me about 2 kilometers to the west. Tel Socho, which we will see later, 2.5 kilometers to the southeast, and Tel Yarmut at a distance of 2.5 kilometers to the northeast. Later on, from the southern gate, we will see the Elah Valley, where the main road that led from the coastal plain and the Judean lowlands to the mountain area and its main cities, Jerusalem and Hebron. Another landmark, 10 kilometers west of here, is Tel Tzafit, where Gat was located, which was a central and large royal city in the 9th and 10th century BCE, owned by the Philistines. A question I always try to answer: how many residents lived here and what did they do for living? So probably hundreds. According to the perimeter of the wall and the distance between the fences, as you can see here, there is a room for 100 fences, meaning at least 100 housing units along the wall. Regarding what did they live from, it is likely that they engage in agriculture and crafts for their livelihood. Trade also, that is mainly internal in the exchange of product, what is called barter. And according to the seals of the storage jars that were found, then there was also administrative work here. Agriculture work was based on local Mediterranean ingredients described in the Bible as the 7 species. The crops of the field consisted mainly of wheat and barley and various types of legumes, lentils, chickpeas, peas, also from fruit trees, including fig, pomegranate, vine and olive. This area is one of the most fertile areas in the country, which on one hand allows for diverse crops, and on the other hand invited constant conflict between the Philistines and the Israelites. I'm convinced that you're asking, how do we know that this is a Jewish site? Because it could be a Philistine site or a Canaanite one inhabited by people like the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Gershites, the Amorites, or the Gibeonites. And of course, it could be a Judean site. That is, the inhabitants of the kingdoms of Judah. So the high probability that this is a Jewish site stems from several characteristics. The first, the city is surrounded by a wall of enclosures that are incorporated as part of the rooms in the houses. Now, this enclosure wall method was discovered at 4 other sites, all in the kingdom of Judah. Another reason is that thousands of animal bones of goats, sheep, and cattle were discovered, yet no pig bones found, unlike the presence of pig bones found in Philistines or Canaanite sites. Another reason, we will find in almost every house a large clay bowl on which pastries are baked. It was not customary in Philistine sites. And the last character I will mention, Philistines and Canaanite sites are characterized by a wealth of cult objects that include humans and animal figures. Not here. In other words, here they fulfilled in practice the commandment of you shall not make yourself a statue or any image, as stated in the book of Exodus chapter 20 verse 3. The battle of David and Goliath occurred here in the Elah Valley, just in front of us, between Soho, which is the hill opposite our location, and Tel Azekah, about 2 kilometers. To describe what happened after David kills Goliath, let me read Samuel 1st, chapter 17, verse 52. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until thou comest to Gai and to the gate of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way of Shaaraim, even onto Gath and onto Ekron. We need to remind ourselves that Gath was destroyed at the end of the 9th century BCE by the Aramean king of Aram Damascus, Hazel his name. And Ekron was destroyed in 603 BCE by the Babylonians, meaning that it was clear that whoever wrote this had information about the existence of Gath and Ekron in the 10th and 9th century BCE. Otherwise, he would write about Ashdod and Ashkelon. I will only add that the city of Shaaraim is one of the cities of Judah according to the book of Joshua chapter 15, and its name appears after Soho and Azekah. To quote Professor Yosef Garfinkel, who excavated the site together with Sa'ar Ganor and Professor Hazel, he wrote as follows: Horbat Kayafa is the biblical Shaaraim, and this is based on what's its location, its date, and the meaning of its name. I'll just add a comment that Shaaraim in Hebrew means 2 gates, and continue with his quote. Exactly what this city has, the western gate and the south gate. As I mentioned earlier, the site was destroyed a short time, probably a few tens of years after it was established. The site was not inhabited again during the First Temple period. Why? Since there are no signs of destruction or fire, it is most probably that the site was established due to the kingdom needs and was also abandoned since the kingdom decided it's not needed anymore. So why was it established for the first place? A logical answer is for security reasons. On one hand, the place here is not high and prominent compared to the surrounding area. On the other hand, there is an excellent view of the whole area from here. To conclude, there is urban planning here. Horbat Kayafa presents an urban concept that includes a wall of enclosures and dwelling adjacent to the wall. Hundreds of storage jars were found systematically marked by imprinting in an identifying imprint on the handles, which indicates original administration. Other sites with similar characteristics are distinct settlement of the Kingdom of Judah. The conclusion is that this place is also part of the Kingdom of Judah. The dating of the site to the beginning of the 10th century BCE associates Horbat Kayafa with the beginning of the royal period in Judea, to the days of King David. We reached the end, and as usual, a question for you. What is the name of the valley where we are? The answer will appear in 5 seconds.